What's going on, y'all? Good evening. Good evening. Hope y'all work week has been going pretty good so far. How many times y'all thought about doing something to your boss? How many times y'all thought about strangling them? Strangling them one, two times, maybe. Maybe a slap. What's good? What's good, YouTube? We live. We are live in the den. This is your host, Aaron EBM. How y'all doing tonight? Hope y'all are doing well. Hope y'all are doing well. I'm not doing too bad myself, despite some life news that I have going on. We all go through it from time to time. Just like I told you in the last video, we got to worry about our health. We have to take care of ourselves, and we can only do what we can do. So I just wanted to check in with you here. I don't have a humongous amount of things to talk about, but I just wanted to check up and see what y'all were doing, see how you were doing, and let you know a few things that I had on my mind. You know, as I've been roaming through this space, checking out the conversations and the topics that's been going on, you often hear the phrase or the words modern woman thrown around a whole lot. You got modern woman, modern man, and a lot of times things get misconstrued, like simp, perhaps, like simp. We're just going to talk about simps for a while. Simp is one of those words that has been thrown around so much that I don't even think the people that are saying the word simp really understand what the word simp even means anymore. You got people, young cats coming up talking about simps. If you care about a woman, if you express your feelings to a woman, then that is simp behavior. If you are, just doing humanly things, because that's what we're here to do, right? We're here to be man and woman, connect with each other and be with each other. So how does that turn into simpish behavior? And simp in my terms, and I think I speak from a reality standpoint. Simp is a person who goes out of their way. It's an action. It's an action. It's a person that goes out of their way to gain the affection of a young lady, most likely giving her gifts, giving her things that will hopefully draw her in and gain her attention, gain her attraction. And most of the time, it ends up in utter failure. That is what a simp is, but we often just come up with our own definitions, and it's crazy, it happens a lot. It's nothing new. And the same thing goes with modern women, modern man, and modern women. We're talking about women here. And it took me even a lot of study and a lot of time to understand what the modern woman is and what the modern woman thinks about and what does the modern woman want, especially in this new millennium in 2021. And you don't really know what they want, because 9 chances out of 10 they don't even know what they want. And when you try to think about something when somebody else doesn't even know what they want, it ends up driving you insane. So I try not to think about it. But as I thought, as I sat there and pondered on it and thought about what, talking about this with you tonight, I thought about a movie, a movie that I know the Gen Xers know, because they were heavily involved. A lot of the cast in this movie were Gen Xers and are Gen Xers. Then some of the millennials know about this movie. Most of the millennials know, especially the old ones. And then you got the Gen Z people that probably really don't even know about the movie. But the movie is, let me see, pull this up here real quick. Waiting to exhale. All right. A lot of you seen this movie. A lot of you guys probably know about this movie. I told you, especially the Gen Xers. And the movie is centered around four women, what you can consider modern women when I get to it. We got Loretta Devine. We got Whitney Houston, of course, the star power of the movie, the woman that made the movie. We got Angela Bassett, and I can't remember the lady's name at the end. Hold on. It is I think Layla Rashawn, I think, like that. She played in Boomerang too. That was another 90s modern woman movie. If you haven't seen that movie, if you haven't watched Boomerang or you haven't watched Waiting to Excel, You need to watch that, especially if you're in this space and you want to talk about modern women, or you want to really learn about modern women and what really happened, especially in the 90s, and you want to talk about a simpish time. The 90s were a simpish time. You think about all the big R&B stars, like Joe and more is a lot of them. Not like the good R&B singers, not like Luther Vandross and Keith Sweat, but I'm talking about, well, Keith Sweat is borderline. You know, they did everything for women, because the Gen Xers, they came up, and a lot of those guys were Gen Xers, and they wanted to do whatever they could for a woman. But back to the movie. Back to the movie. You got Loretta Devine in the movie. She really doesn't fit. If you really watch this movie and you think about Loretta Devine, she doesn't really fit to that modern woman category. She's more like the traditional woman, that wanted to hang around the modern the modern money makers, women, the modern money making women, and that was Whitney Houston. I can't remember what she did, and Angela Bassett. Her husband had a business in the movie, and I think she kind of helped with the business. If you watch the movie, you'll hear her say that, I helped you make the business, and they ended up getting divorced, and he kind of left her for a white woman, and she ended up saying that, she kind of helped build that business. That is, they really don't go into deep detail. And then you got the last lady over here in the corner, which I told you before, and her name was let's see, Robin Stokes in the movie. She was the most like a modern woman. She made money. She had the look. She knew she had the looks, and she was never satisfied with anything. She had a chance to get a man that really made money, but he was like the quote unquote educated lame. He was kind of a chubby dude. He wasn't that 6'6" chiseled jawline, kind of guy. It was definitely indicative of what you hear now in the space of being the educated lame. And a lot of women have this chance to get this guy that they're talking about, but he doesn't quite make their toes curl. He doesn't quite make them tingle. He doesn't quite hit the boxes that they want, but he could take care of them. She had the chance. She kind of messed that up in the movie. If you watch the movie, I don't want to tell all of the parts of the movie. And she ends up going from man to man, married man, a drug addict, and so on and so forth. I don't think she ever found anybody in the movie. And that there is another sign of a modern woman. They are never satisfied. They want the perfect guy. They want the perfect man, even if he is married, and they'll do anything to get him. And it's crazy. It's crazy. But the movie, if you watch the movie, it shows you everything. And Whitney Houston, as I was talking earlier before I made this video, she was the only one that had a man that kind of was level headed. But of course, he was married also. And you know what happens when these modern women get with these married men? They'll believe anything they say. They're going to leave their wives and they're going to be with them, and then they foolishly stay, even though I think a part of me believes that they know that their guy's never going to leave, and they do that, and they stay in that unattainable relationship because they don't want to settle for a man that they really need. So they get the man that's unattainable. And all in all, when you watch this movie, what you get and what you really understand, because when this movie came out, I was 10 years old. I didn't care about this kind of stuff. I was still watching Nickelodeon and then the WWE. Let's be real. Most of us wasn't really paying attention to this until we got older. And when we got older, everything that's happening to these women on this movie is happening to the women that you see now in public. And what they all have in common, what every woman in this movie have in common, is they cannot make the decision to keep or find or keep a man. They can't do it. They cannot get a man. They can't make the right decisions to keep to have a good and keep a good man. Now, in Loretta Devine's defense on that movie, her husband ends up being I think he was gay. Yeah, he was gay. And then he didn't even want to talk to his son. His son had to talk to him. And when you watch this movie, this was a complete and utter train wreck. And it's like, is this what women really strive to be in the 90s? You know, alone and going jumping from man to man that they knew wouldn't do anything but complicate their lives. You know, make complete train wrecks of their lives. And if they didn't make train wrecks, you know, end up getting pregnant and then being baby mamas. Is this what it was, or this what it meant to be a powerful, powerful modern woman? Is this what the Cosmopolitan magazine were peddling to women? Is this the ideal life? You know, that you ask yourself this question: is this what women wanted to do? And then they, you know, really it ends up being a thing where after they get done getting ran through by the different guys that they were messing with, they end up saying all men are dogs. This is really crazy when you think about how close and how similar these women are to the women that you run across today, and especially when they run across these platforms like um, Kevin Samuels. Now, the messed up part about this movie, like I was saying earlier, is that none of the black men in this movie were any good. Either they were made to be drug addicts, either they were made to be dogs, either they were either married and having affairs with these women while they were already married. And like I said, Loretta Devine's husband was gay, but he was still sleeping with her on the down low when he was coming to visit his son from time to time. Every movie in these 90s movies like this, these women movies were out to demonize the men of the time, and the men didn't do anything about it. They just stayed there doing what they do. And you really I really didn't understand the point of the men letting this stuff happen to them, or men being broadcasted in this light, over and over again. And then it seems to repeat itself in a different way when you get to Tyler Perry. His movies were even more gospel centered, more religious, but it ended up being the same thing. A woman either getting beat or disrespected by a black man, and then another man comes. Probably more likely a light skinned man comes and saves him from the big bad black man. You know, it's amazing what media does and how media can sway and push an audience. But it is what it is, man. It is what it is. If we continue to let these women, excuse me for a minute, if we continue to let the media and women paint us in a light that they want to paint us, it will continue to happen. I don't know. It was just like in later in the 90s when the only movies that black men could get in or black men can do was the role of a thug. It was the role of he was an ex-con, or what else was it in the 90s? Either he might have been gay, all the time, you know, and it goes from one stereotype into another. Then you go back to the 70s, everybody, either the black men in the movies were pimps, all the black men in the movies were like pimps, and you only had Shaft as a superhero. Then it went from Shaft and then went straight to Dolomite and Superfly and all that other black exploitation junk. And then from generation to generation, we got exploited in some kind of way. And I don't even think we recovered from all of this stuff. I mean, I yet well, now you got Idris Elba. Now you got more positive and black men playing multifaceted roles. More than just being a drug addict and a drug dealer or a wife beater or a cheater. But you do have multiple men playing multiple roles, different roles. You have, like I said, Idris Elba. You have um, Michael B. Jordan playing, in Black Panther. You have let's see, who else is it? Black Panther itself. You have everybody doing, doing more roles and doing different things to change the view of black men. But it's incredible how these kind of movies were able to warp the minds, and especially of today. It even goes to today. You got young girls talking about, not being protected. What how are black men going to protect me? Why ain't black men protecting me? And we go through all this, we go through all that, and you ain't been doing nothing. You ain't been doing anything, but you haven't been doing anything but going to college, going to school, doing the same thing everybody else do. But for some reason, these movies and media have you thinking like you went through a 50 different struggles before you made it to college. It's insane, but that's what indoctrination does. That's what media does. And if you don't really guard yourself from these things, or if you're not mentally um, strong, it can easily warp the minds of the people out there when they continue to see women, especially African American women, talk and display and treat men or black men in a certain kind of way. And then it's not even uh black men in some spots. Sometimes it even goes to white men now. You know, if men in general get too out of hand, they're toxic or not out of hand, but if they speak up, you can't really say anything without being labeled as toxic, or having toxic masculinity, or being aggressive, or I even heard a couple people say that if you have a different opinion, or if they feel like you're dismissing them, that's violence against the person, you know and that's the crazy part. It's like, how do we go from talking to disagreeing, and me disagreeing with you turning into violence, and it ultimately means, or it ultimately is a tactic to make us shut up. It's a tactic to make us be quiet. If I'm being violent, they can equate violence with danger, and then danger means we got to shut you up, and we got to get you out of here. That's why I say big ups to Dave Chappelle for doing what he does. I've they say it's controversy, but I don't really think it's controversy. I feel like that they're using that as a buzzword. It wasn't controversial. It wasn't any way anything outside of what Dave Chappelle always does, and that's be Dave Chappelle. You know, you can't cancel a man who controls his own destiny in the manner that Dave Chappelle does, and that's something that we really need to come to grips with, to know that we can disagree. I can say, if I feel like there's only, say, X amount of genders, say if I believe it's two amount of genders and you believe it's 32 genders, we have the right to have different points of view. We have the right to have different thoughts about the whole process, and the thoughts about the whole thing. We are in America. We have our ups and downs, but yet we are in America, where we live in a mostly free country. I say it like that, mostly free, and we should have the right to disagree with each other. And as long as we're not fighting, as long as we're not hurting each other, as long as we are being respectful to each other's spaces, I should be able to say the way I feel. You should be able to say the way you feel. We go about our business and keep living. But all more than often, we have groups of people that feel like if they don't like what we say, or they don't like what a certain person says, then they need to be silenced. And like I said, that's why we champion Dave Chappelle for doing what he did. I almost feel like Dave Chappelle is a social commentator that pops a joke or two here and now, here and again. He's more so of a social commentator than a comedian. You got people saying his jokes wasn't that funny, and you can have your own opinion with that too. That is your right. That is your opinion too. But when we get people like let me say Lonnie Love coming out and then saying that she doesn't like, you shouldn't be able to say jokes about marginalized people, and even throwing in fat black women being a marginalized group, then what are you saying? You just don't want to be made fun of. Nobody wants to be laughed at. And comedy isn't about laughing at your being. It's not about laughing at you being a black person, or you being a short person, or a really tall lanky person. It's not about your being. It's making fun and making light of the way you view the world. And that's what comedy is. Nobody is off limits when it comes to comedy, not black people. That's like saying, making a joke and saying all black people like chicken. And it's a whole bunch of people out there that agree that a lot of black people like chicken. Some people don't. You laugh, haha, and it's like Hispanic people, making or eating and making tacos. Yeah, some Hispanic people out there might not like tacos, but I bet you it's a lot of Hispanics that do like tacos. It's a joke. That's what it is. We have got to the point where we can't be ourselves. We can't enjoy each other. We can't laugh at each other. We can't laugh, period. Or we can't express our point of views without it being chopped up, watered down, and non-offensive to anybody. What kind of a world would we have if all the jokes were constructed in the way a lot of these social justice warriors are doing? It'll be the driest thing in the world. I even challenge people to give it a shot. If you think you can make jokes and make things funny without I can't say that all, because there's some comedians out there that aren't raunchy. I get that. But without just being clean and not offending anybody, you can't live your life day to day, tiptoeing and walking on eggshells, trying not to offend anybody. We all have the rights to express our opinion, and we need to honor that. I was having this debate the other day with somebody, and I just told my opinion, not disrespecting anybody, and he called me insane. And that's just a part of the sign language deal. When you can't win an argument, when you don't have a leg to stand on, when you don't have any more intelligent things to say, you go straight to the ad hominem attacks. And that is indicative of the situation that we have here today. You know, are we going to continue to be soft? Are we going to continue to be led by what these major or mainstream media content or platforms want us to say or want us to be? Robots in this utopian society? Because that's the only way we're going to be in a society that doesn't offend anybody, that doesn't make somebody mad, doesn't upset somebody, doesn't get on anybody's nerves or step on their toes. It will only be in a utopian society where everybody does what the said government tells them to do at all times. And that is the only way you're going to have something like that I can't even say will work, but it will have to be forced on people. But this is America. You want America to be a place to where you do what I say, or they do what you say all the time. And I tell people to watch out for that. If you don't like somebody, if you don't like a certain person's platform or frame of mind or point of view, turn the TV off. Leave the person alone. Don't give them the time of day. Don't give them the views. Don't give them the mind. Because what will happen is, if you force your opinion, if you force judgment on that person, if you try to cancel that person or people that are like that person, what will happen is every action has an equal and opposite reaction. What is that? Newton's law, I believe. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. If you cancel people for small and little things that get on your nerves, they will in fact turn around and cancel you for little things that get on their nerves. And it will happen. And it is already starting to happen. And I warn people about that. Yes, you don't like what they say. There's a lot of content creators out here in different spaces that if you don't like what they say, but if you cancel them, there were people in their corner that will wait for you to mess up, wait for you to take the wrong step, wait for you to say the wrong thing, and they got you. because if they got the power, if you had the power to cancel them for that situation or that thing, they by right have the authority to cancel you too. Man, I'm telling you guys, it's a lot. It's a lot, and I wanna do something different. It is easy to talk about the same things all the time, how bad women are doing, and how bad black men are doing, and how bad all men are doing, and vice versa to the women. It's easy to get stuck in them loops, but why why not try something different? Why not try to make a difference, and why not try to to be your own self. Shout out to Red Sings the Blues for what he said today. Sometimes you just got to stand up and be your own man. Sometimes you just can't go with the crowd, and that's okay. And that's okay to go against the grain. That's what part of life, and that's a part of being a man and a woman is going against that order. And sometimes it'll put you in a position to make you grow and be better than what you were. Yeah, it's easy in the space to continue to complain no matter what the situation is. Yes, the what we doing and the mistakes that we make and have made needs to be put into light, and light need to be shed on that, because you don't want to continue to make the same mistakes. But at some point, we got to start doing something different, or else we're just doing the same thing, repeating, regurgitating the same kind of content, repeating and regurgitating the same kind of emotions. And what we get is a bunch of copycats. What we get is a bunch of people that can't be themselves. And what the world really needs is some variety. They need some people to go against the grain. They need some people, and especially in our community, to be men and not just go with whatever all these either women and all these different media platforms are telling you to do, to stand up and live in your purpose and change the world. All right, guys, I'm done for the day. I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys have a good evening, a good night's sleep. Finish out the work week strong. Continue to do what you are on this planet to do. But we're going to make it. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Y'all have a good one. Good night.